Hey friend, it's Kirsten. Have you wondered how you can just become the little apple of your teacher's eye? Do you have a friend who seems to be the teacher's pet and you're like, I want that to be me? Well, I'm actually not here to incentivize anyone to do that, but as a ballet teacher, I do want to share 10 tips with you on how to gain more favor or at least have a more harmonious relationship with your ballet teacher. These are tips on how you can do your best to really speak your teacher's love language, at least most teachers. So don't take this out of hand. I'm not trying to encourage anybody to just hunger and thirst for the affection of their ballet teacher. Not everyone's going to love you. Don't try to make everyone love you. But I do believe that implementing these tips will make your life a little bit easier and it will increase your chances of building trust and rapport with your teachers. So here we go. So number one, your teachers will love you. I mean that very generally. I'm totally exaggerating, but go with it. Okay. Number one, your teachers will love you if you are engaged. So what do I mean by engaged? I mean clearly attentive. You are there to apply yourself. You are there to learn. You are there to change. You are there to push yourself. You know, an engaged person interacts. An engaged person doesn't just wait for all the information to be fed to them and all the results to be given to them. An engaged person shows up ready to work, ready to learn, enthusiastic. So when you're engaged, you're actively looking, listening, trying corrections, applying corrections, experimenting. Oh, I think I said experimenting twice. But yes, please be engaged. Please apply yourself. Please, instead of waiting for a teacher to tell you everything to do, just take initiative. Take initiative. That's the word I was looking for. Meet the teacher's effort with your own effort to enhance your abilities. So I was about to start getting into other points, but I'll just leave that one there. Number two, your teacher will love you if you are actively trying to be your best teacher. This is some of the best advice I ever got when I was younger, that instead of relying on teachers to tell you all of their knowledge and develop your skills, no, you need to be actively correcting yourself, looking at your own abilities critically, doing your own research, exposing yourself to other methods or whatever it is, at least in the studio while you're there. Look in the mirror, see how you can adjust things, try things, self-correct. That's just a really big part of being your own best teacher. Self-correct. Do not wait for the teacher to tell you for the millionth time that X quality could be better or movement could be better or more turned out, whatever. Or even don't wait for a teacher to tell you for the first time that you could be doing something differently. Apply yourself, be your own best teacher, and look for ways that you could self-correct and self-adjust. Number three, not all teachers will love this, but I'd say a lot of them will, which is to ask, if you ask thoughtful questions about corrections that you might have gotten in order to get more clarity on what they meant and how you can apply that, I personally think that shows some maturity on your part. That's my perception of it. Now, I'm not saying ask questions just all the time just to get attention. Please don't do that. And in fact, there are so many questions that I'm like, honestly, I'm like, were you listening? For instance, like sometimes it's appropriate to ask the teacher to show the combination one more time. It's more mature to ask them to show a specific part of the combination that you might be confused about, especially if you feel like around the room other people look a little bit confused. But if it looks like everybody but you kind of has the combination and you're just struggling with it, see if you can kind of like ask a peer. I mean, if that's inappropriate, it's totally okay to ask the teacher, but there's some questions that are just like, come on, like just sort it out yourself. But I do think it's important to ask, maybe not in the group setting all the time, it could be, or after class, If a teacher gave you a correction and you don't know exactly what they meant or exactly how to apply it, ask for advice or ask, what exactly did you mean? How can I apply that? What exactly do I need to change to achieve that outcome you're talking about? It's okay to ask clarifying questions. I think that's really mature. I like it when my students do that because it really shows that they want to apply it and they're open to it. So, number 4 is that you can gain favor with your teachers if you're not stuck in your ways. If you're not like, this is the one style I dance, I am not willing to apply corrections, I am not willing to change my approach or try something new, don't be that dancer, especially if you're young. I even have taught some students who are like, well, at one summer program, I learned it this way. And I'm like, I'm teach you once a week. Like, are you really, you can't just do this in my class? Like, come on, you can practice adaptability. If you really hate what the teacher is asking you to do, you can talk with them about it. You can, I don't know, sort it out. But also, like, if you don't like a certain style, you can go back, revert back to your old ways when you find another teacher. You can adapt. I actually think it's quite a great skill to be able to adapt, to like take a super balancing class and like go for it, and then take a really Russian class and also go for it and like just be all in with the style. Learn, be hungry to learn and adapt and learn to be a versatile dancer. I think that's awesome. So just please don't get stuck in your ways. Don't be indignant. And if you really don't like something a teacher is asking you to do, talk to them about it instead of giving them weird looks and just, again, being indignant and just kind of stomping your feet and just clearly not wanting to change. Talk to them about it. Okay, number 5 is like the big one, the big kahuna, okay? Please don't do this, okay? So do not let your frustration overtake you. Do not give your emotions to everybody else or put your bad vibes on everybody else, like your bad attitude. If you are having a hard day, don't make a display out of it. Goodness, I just think that even like this happens on a super mild level in a lot of classes. Many dancers make their frustration with themselves visible, like very visible. And I think sometimes it's really like inherently kind of a coping mechanism for an insecurity, kind of like if you let other people know that you're not happy with what you just did, then they can't judge you for it because you're making it clear that you're already judging yourself for it. Have you guys noticed that? I think it's something a lot of dancers do without really knowing why they're doing it. But really, if you're letting your frustration overtake you, number 1, the way that reads is that you're actually self-absorbed, that you take yourself so seriously that you're going to be like visibly upset when you fall out of a pirouette. Like, it's not a big deal. I just honestly want to tell some people, like, breathe. You're not that big of a deal. And the pirouette is not that big of a deal. Like, kind of get over yourself a little bit. Take the dancing seriously, but don't take yourself so seriously. And I just also want to approach this not completely with like a get over it perspective, but also a little bit of compassion, because I understand we all have really frustrating days sometimes. But as best you can, do keep that to yourself. And then when you go home, you could cry it out. But it's honestly out of respect for the people around you. I'm not saying just bottle up all your emotions. Like, there's a balance here, and I hope you're not going to get me wrong on this, but from a teacher's perspective, when there's a student who gets overwhelmed or overly frustrated whenever something doesn't go perfectly or go their way, it really, sometimes it reads as that student is frustrated with the ballet teacher. And it kind of puts the teacher in this really weird position where the teacher doesn't know, like, if I correct them, are they just going to explode in tears? Are they mad at me? Are they mad at themselves? Like, you guys have no idea what is going on in the ballet teacher's mind. It's so interesting that I think from the dancer's perspective, it might just be legitimate frustration and maybe a little bit of that coping mechanism I talked about before. But from a teacher's perspective, first, it kind of reads like, we don't know if it's safe to correct you if you're doing that. We don't know if we're going to make you cry or go over the edge. And so like there's been sometimes where I actually like chronically hold off on correcting somebody when they actually want correction, but because of their behavior, I actually don't know if I'm adding to that overflow of emotion by correcting them. So I hold off. Meanwhile, the student wants correction. So it creates this rift that really doesn't need to be there. So you need to be really responsible with your emotional display. Like, don't make it a display. You can have them, but it's just really important to understand that those emotions not only make other people uneasy and uncomfortable, I don't think it reads as clearly as you think. It's not just about you, it really does affect other people. So please keep your emotions mostly to yourself. Point number 6 is that your teachers will really appreciate it if you learn that balance of pushing through having dead shoes or bruised toenail or little aches and pains, and not constantly asking like, can I take my point shoes off for today? Can I do point class on flat? My shoes are dead, blah blah blah. It's like, we during the show that we're rehearsing for, you might have dead shoes. You kind of have to get over it. Now, there are some times where you really do need to mind your health, or you just actually don't have any more point shoes. You're waiting for your back ordered point shoes to get in the mail. Like, there are exceptions, of course. But on the other hand, teachers really appreciate it when a student, especially a young student, knows how to push through, like knows the boundaries of when to push through and when to not. Like when your health is actually really in danger or you're legitimately completely unable to complete the demands of the class. Of course, there are exceptions for that, and we'll understand most of the time, like if the teacher is a nice, compassionate person. But then there are also so many students who are like, my shoes are dead, I have a blister, and it puts the teacher in a really weird position to be like, do I just say it's okay, or do I kind of speak my mind and be like, get over it, or am I going to get an email from a parent later saying you told my daughter to get over a blister? And it's kind of like, well, yeah. Oh man, I'm kind of getting a little controversial in this video, but try to find that balance for yourself. And at least if you're a student, ask yourself if you can really push through in the class, if you really need to compensate, or kind of even say, if this were a show, would I be asking the teacher the same thing? If this were a rehearsal, just kind of go through those filters a little bit before you ask. Number 7 is that your teachers will really love you if you always try to make your second attempt at a combination better than your first. I think a lot of students kind of just mindlessly just put more effort into doing the combination again, or they just kind of approach it in the same way, thinking that just by repeating it, you're going to get better results. But there's a way to work smarter and to be more thoughtful and to like really apply some corrections that you might have gotten, or maybe up the artistry or something. But if you always have the intention to make your second go around better, that really shows, because it's just really common for most dancers, like I've mentioned already, to just do it again expecting that that's enough and just by default they're going to make it better. No, put that intention into it, and your teachers will notice. Number 8 is that your teachers will really be able to see and appreciate when you are actively trying to change your habits and apply their corrections. Of course, teachers want you to apply their corrections. Everybody knows that. But it's crazy how many dancers get so, especially students, get so caught up in their own priorities of what they think they should be working on, that they'll hear a teacher for a whole year saying something very simple like use épaulement when you're balancing in susu. And like as a teacher, I still have to remind my students after a year plus to do that. And I've seen some students who instantly, like they'll go with their habit and they'll do it the way they did before I corrected them. But then on the next side, they'll kind of remember, oh, okay, I'm going to use my épaulement this time. And having that self-correction, I know that when I see students doing that, it's like I can trust them that they're working on it and I'll let it go. I think as teachers, it's really our challenge to let the students, take their time in the process of growing It's very easy for some teachers, and myself included at times, to have super high expectations and to be like, I said that 3 times, why isn't it fixed by now? Of course, some corrections, like they really take a lot to apply them, especially ones that involve gaining strength. But just assess for yourself. Have you been hearing a correction for months and have shown no progress? Then if the answer is honestly no, I mean, yes, like if you have not shown progress there, put more intention into it and like really, really, really work on showing progress there, because a teacher can tell, like I can tell by looking in my students' eyes or just by observing their behavior for a short amount of time, if they have the intention to remember and apply what I said, or if I'm just going to keep saying it for the rest of my life and no one cares. So be intentional. I don't think we expect perfection most of the time. It's just, or we don't expect you to perfectly apply every single correction. We're giving you ideas, but we do expect you to apply yourself and show that you're at least really trying. Number 9 is don't just show your teachers the tricks and all the cool turns and whatever that you think we care about or you think is super impressive. Like, it's really obvious when a student is just going for kind of the vanity metrics, like I can do 4 pirouettes or I can get a full split in my grand jeté, that kind of a thing. We can tell when you're valuing that, thinking that we're so impressed by that. Oh my gosh, that was like such a Shania Twain moment. Shout out in the comments, like tell me if you know that song, which is like, that don't impress me much. Oh my gosh, I love Shania Twain. Anyway, so it doesn't impress us if we're constantly trying to drill into you like basic fundamental technique and kinesiologically safe practices for dance, and we're trying to help you develop your strength, and then all you care about is like, but look, my leg is this high. Look, I did 4 pirouettes. And a lot of times we're like, great, honey, that's awesome. Yes, but please go back to the fundamentals. You have to be humble. And honestly, just take your teacher's word for it. Even if you don't believe them that fundamental technique is the most important thing, just go with it. Trust the teacher. Trust them. And know that your opinion has quite a few years less backing to it than their opinion. Now, I'm not trying to demean anyone because of their age, but do listen to your teachers and do be curious about why they think these corrections they're giving you matters, And going into number 10, rounding this off, is to be humble. Just be humble. Be open to learning. Be curious. Don't just get stuck in your own ideas. Don't be so self-absorbed that you get wrapped up in your own emotions. Like, really just be a sponge. Be there to learn. Be there to grow. Not so fixated on yourself, but really to be a part of the whole, be a part of the environment, to be a light in there, to have camaraderie with your peers, and just to see how you can go in the studio every day and expand yourself instead of defending that you're already good, Be open, be humble, and just never stop learning. But I definitely, the definition of being humble does not stop there. Be humble, and please, 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 if there's anything you do, don't give constant excuses for your mistakes or stories or justifications. Teachers do not want that. They don't want to give you a correction and then to instantly hear you spout out like, well, my left shoe was dead, or, well, I got 5 hours of sleep last night. It's like, okay, great. I'm just giving you a correction. Like, I don't need a story, but okay. Be humble and just take the correction. Know that it's not personal. Just take it. Even if you know in your head, like, obviously I'm not going to do that next time. Like, I know what's wrong. I just messed up, or yes, my shoe was dead. Just keep that on the inside. Keep the stories on the inside. Be humble. Don't make excuses. Just take it. All right, guys. I hope this was really helpful. I know I touched on some controversial points in there, so if you do have any questions or if you want to disagree with me, I'm happy to talk that out with you in the comments. I know that this is just based off of my personal experience and my training and in my teaching, which I've been very fortunate to go around to different environments and to see different teaching styles and to teach many different students. But I know that I certainly don't know everything. I don't speak for everybody, but I do think that this list of ways that you can really build trust and a good relationship with your teacher, it is mostly universal. And of course, there are going to be exceptions, but I do think that there is really something in there for everybody. So I hope it was helpful for you. I hope that you have a great week, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.